What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Break live stream. Hope everyone's doing well. Had a good weekend and are having a good week. Um, After 7 years, The Boys is officially over. Series finale dropped. Um, Show's over. So we're gonna review The Boys series finale. And then that's it for TV shows for a while that I know of. Um, but yeah, 7 years. And now the show is officially over. So we're gonna talk about the finale. Then we'll get into the film news. Then we'll talk about NBA. Conference finals are here, and the NFL schedule released, which I forgot to talk about last week, so my bad. But yeah, we'll talk about it today. What's up, CVO? Let me get the banner up. Yeah, let's talk about The Boys. So yeah, I've been saying, that the series finale needs to be at least a 10 out of 10, or at the very least, like a 9.5 out of 10. The episode kind of starts off pretty slow. Starts off with Frenchie's funeral of like the boys' team, paying respects to him and stuff. And Huey's reading off, stuff that he wrote, and they say a bunch of like jokes that are completely unnecessary and just serve no purpose to the main story. But it was a nice little scene. And then we see Sage rage bait Kumiko into testing Soldier Boy's blast that they recreated and put in her, and it did actually work, and it fried the V out of Sage's bloodstream. So now she's no longer the smartest person in the world. She is now pretty dumb. So yeah, that pretty much makes Sage's character completely pointless. And she's like, F this, I'm going to Harry Potter Land in Orlando. See ya. So yeah, that's the last time we see her character, and that's probably the last time we'll ever see her character, and just completely pointless. And then, later on, they're like, one last go. Butcher gives like his speech to the team. So they go down to the White House. What you do like how they pay homage to the comics, where if you read the comics, I didn't. I just listen to videos on it. Where there's a big White House battle in the comics. That's how the comics end. The ending's completely different in the show, obviously, but they're preparing for Homelander to address the nation and solidify himself as God, essentially. So we see Deep and Father, and then Deep wants to help. And Homelander tells him to his face how he never liked him, never respected him. The only reason he never killed him is because he wanted him to live with the fact that he was nothing but a loser, and he has absolutely zero respect for Deep. Yeah, that was funny. So it really shows that Deep truly has nothing, and he can't even go into the water anymore. Yeah, I agree. It was good. Could have been better. Rare W from Homelander, but yeah, pretty much roast deep and saying like you're useless and stuff, and calls him pathetic and worthless and all that stuff, and just puts him down. So Deep, has nothing left. No friends, no family. And he doesn't even have the ocean anymore because of the oil leak. And all the sea creatures hate him and saying like you step 1 foot in the water and you're a dead man. We do see the Gen V characters earlier in this episode, but they're in it for like 5 seconds. Like they're just there to evacuate the people to freaking Canada, and it's probably the last time we'll see those characters. So bringing them in was just absolutely pointless. Like I just don't get it. Like for a while they've been saying like, oh, Marie Monroe is on the same level as Homelander and power scaling. Like she might be able to take down Homelander or at least hold him off or something. Tell you right now, if she was the one who killed Homelander, that would have been a massive disappointment. That would have been terrible. Thank goodness they did not do that. But yeah, the Gen V characters are just completely pointless. I just don't get it. And with the Gen V show being canceled, that show is pointless. There's no need to watch it. It's a complete waste of time. Because it doesn't it doesn't lead anywhere. In the actual show, like you can just watch the main boys show and ignore Gen V, or just watch the cameo clips and nothing changes. But yeah, with that out of the way, we see Ryan sitting in that cabin that he was hiding out in season 2, in the season 2 finale, where Homelander and Stormfront were keeping him at. So nice little callback there. But he's basically watching the TV. Homelander shows up and he's like, I'm going to become God. That makes you the son of God. And basically telling him like, I know you hate me and stuff. I still want you to come to Vought. You can have your own room. Come and go as you please. You won't have to see me. You won't have to interact with me at all. That's fine and stuff. And Ryan calls him out. Calls out his own father, saying that like if you have to scare people into making them believe that you're God, then you're not God. And says that without your powers, you're nothing, you're pathetic. And I was actually nervous that Homelander was going to kill Ryan right there and then, but because you can see the tears welling up in Homelander's eyes, because he knows deep down it's true. Instead, he just turns around, walks away, and flies away. And of course, this is the first time we've seen Ryan in 4 episodes. Like last week, the pacing is absolutely horrible in this season. But anyway, so we get to the White House. And Ashley's trying to talk to back Ashley, but she's not saying anything, giving her the silent treatment because of the argument they had in the last episode. So the boys infiltrate the White House, walking through, the tunnels, which this scene kind of reminded me of Stranger Things, when Dr. K in the military had those sound things to weaken 11 and Kali. They kind of do the same thing here when those alarms start blaring, and it's only affecting Starlight, Kumiko, and Butcher because they have Compound V in their system. Yeah, I thought it was a good redemption from her, which I felt they set up her redemption in season 3 when she erased the footage of Queen May surviving Soldier Boy's blast and that fall in the season 3 finale. So they kind of pay it off here in a way where she goes down there and she helps them out. And Back Ashley's, starts talking to her again because of it. And, they're, cool. So she helps them out, which I thought was a nice redemption, for her. So when they actually get up there, we see Starlight go at Deep and attack him, and then they start fighting. And then that fight gets taken all the way over to the beach, which we'll get to in a little bit. But we see Father, confront them and saying, like, I just want Kumiko and Butcher. So they set off like smoke bomb, and Huey actually does a really good impression of Butcher and actually tricks Father. So Huey rage baits Father, and then Mother's Milk uses I cannot say on stream, so if you know, you know. But basically, Father kills himself by the hands of Mother's Milk. I know that kind of doesn't make any sense, but if you watch the episode, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Huey did it so perfectly. Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, RLP to Father. I predicted that he was going to die, so I actually got that one right. Most of my death predictions I did get right. And the characters that surviving ended up surviving. But Butcher and Kumiko eventually get to Homelander, where he's just sitting at the desk, and we get a callback to season 3. Scorched Earth. They're saying that to each other, and then we get a really awesome fight. Homelander versus Butcher. Probably you can argue it's their best fight of the show. I don't know. The one they had in season 3, episode 6 might be better, honestly, but this one was pretty good. Where, everything comes full circle since the first season of the show. That's what the show has been about, Butcher versus Homelander, that rivalry. So they start fighting each other. Homelander's using his laser eyes and his, strength and stuff. Butcher using his parasite powers, the tentacles. And Kumiko's trying to charge up her blast, but she can't, do it in time. I'm mad we never got to see them actually do the whole Scorched Earth. I'm guessing the show doesn't have that kind of budget to do it. Yeah, it is a letdown, which they should have a big budget because it's Amazon Prime. I'm pretty sure Prime has a big budget, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. But I felt like they just kind of throw that out. I feel like they just throw that line out there for Aura at this point. But still, it was a pretty entertaining fight. But then we get to the beach, Starlight and Deep coming back full circle since season 1. And I'm so glad it was at the hands of Starlight. But she actually tries to reason with them. She says, Deep, Kevin. She calls him by his actual name. Saying, like, I can see it in your eyes that you're terrified of Homelander. Why do you want to stay close with him? Why do you want to impress him and stuff? Don't you want to be free? So she tries to reason with him, and, he doesn't listen. Like, he said, my life's gone downhill since you came around. It's all because of you. And she's like, I didn't make those shitty decisions. You did. stop acting like a baby and take some responsibility for your actions and stuff. Then he screams no, and then he starts fighting her, which I love how this plays out. She punches him in the face, then she kicks him in the balls, which is hilarious. And then she charges up, her powers and blasts him into the ocean. And he's like, no, 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 no. And she's watching the whole thing unfold. And we see all the sea creatures just start gathering around him. We see a bunch of sharks, and then we see an octopus. And he's begging for his life, like saying, no, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. But octopus actually grabs onto his leg while he's trying to swim away, and an octopus kills him, and he dies right there. And we see Starlight's shocked expression. But yeah, just fitting way for him to go out. Good riddance. I'm glad it was at the hands of Starlight. So that will be the end of his, character. Just such a pathetic, laughable character. But then we cut back to the White House fight. Butcher and Kumiko versus Homelander, and Kumiko can't, get her blast ready. So as Homelander's about to fly away, Ryan steps in and stops him from escaping. Love that he joined the fight. And Homelander's like, you little piece of shit. So then Ryan goes at him. So you see Butcher and Ryan trying to wear down Homelander. And Kumiko is trying to charge out the blast. Then I love how this is how she does it. She sees Frenchie speaking to her. Obviously, it's in her head, but she thinks of Frenchie and focuses on him. And that's what is able to get her to charge her blast enough to hit Homelander. So Butcher and Ryan are able to hold Homelander still, and he gets hit by that blaster. Then we see a big flash, everybody's knocked out on the floor. So they eventually wake up, and Homelander tries to use his laser eyes, but they don't work. So then he tries to fly away, but he can't fly. And then we just see Butcher laughing, smiling, how the tables have turned. Homelander loses his powers. He is completely powerless. He knows that in that moment, he knew that he was a dead man. He's going to die. And he can't even run. So he goes at Butcher and tries to punch him, but Butcher grabs his fist and just starts beating the absolute shit out of him. And it really just shows that without his powers, Homelander is absolutely nobody. He's pathetic without his powers. He is a terrible fighter. And the reason for that is he didn't need to learn to fight because he had his powers, but now that he doesn't have his powers anymore, he's completely defenseless. So Butcher just beats him to a bloody pulp, just punches him in the face, and just beats him down. And, he falls to the ground, and he's begging and pleading with him. Says, I'll do anything. He's just begging for his life, begging Butcher to spare him. Butcher grabs a crowbar and, walks over to him. And he's like, you can't do this. I am the Homelander. And Butcher's like, no, you are fucking nothing. And it really pays off what A-Train said to him in episode 1, where you are fucking nobody. Take away these powers. What are you? Just a weak, sniveling, pathetic loser. So it really pays that off really well. And then we see Butcher strike Homelander in the face, and he kills him. And I'm glad it was Butcher. I'm glad Butcher was the one who killed Homelander. Um, I said many times that if it was anybody else, that it would be disappointing, but I'm glad it was Butcher who did it. He says, "This is for my Becca," and just straight up kills him. Um, so Homelander dies. And, this will be the last time we ever see Anthony Starr as Homelander. Just a great run. One of the greatest villains ever. Anthony Starr 100% deserves an Emmy for his performance as Homelander. He really popularized the character and made the Homelander character iconic. So many iconic moments across the show. But that is the end of Homelander's, character. Let me get caught up on the comments. They used all their budget for A-Train versus Homelander. Yeah. I mean, that was a cool scene, don't get me wrong. Starlight got her revenge. The way the Deep said no. Yeah, he was a crybaby. Butcher and Ryan double teaming on Homelander was peak. I agree. That was really good. He was begging for mercy. We knew that, Butcher, nothing was going to stop Butcher from there. A-Train predicted Homelander's fate. Yes, he did. Yeah, he was a great villain. Just one of the greatest villains ever. But yeah, so he's dead. And then Starlight and Huey and Mother's Milk get there, and they see that Butcher won. They see Homelander just laying there dead. The nightmare is finally over. So they go down to that house, kind of, celebrate the win in a way. Then we see all like the news reports that Homelander's dead, which I forgot to mention that the whole fight was being broadcast live, where like Homelander was like just saying what was on the teleprompter, and then like he quickly shifts and saying like, you know what, F this. Anybody who doesn't, accept me and believe in me as God, will face a brutal death, scaring those people. So he shows the people his true colors, and then they see him die on live TV, and they also saw him begging like a crybaby. So now the people know, who he truly was before, he died. But as I was saying, Butcher goes over to Terror, his dog, and this was a really sad scene where Butcher discovers that Terror is dead. Really, really sad scene. The dog who actually played Terror actually did die in real life about a year ago when they were filming this. So RIP to Butcher's dog, Terror, and the real dog that was portraying him. Just a very sad scene. But yeah, Butcher just has nothing left. Obviously, he fulfilled his goal of getting payback on Homelander and killing Homelander. So he goes to Vought Tower, which Ashley says that she's not going to resign, but she gets impeached anyway. But Huey discovers Terror's dead and that Butcher's gone with the virus. So Huey goes after Butcher, and he goes there to stop him from doing it. And Butcher's like, just because Homelander's gone doesn't mean there won't be somebody who will become like him and, take his place. Stuff. Soups need to go. Superheroes are done. It has to be done. And so Huey tries to stop him. Huey tries to convince him not to do this, but obviously Butcher doesn't, listen to him. So then Butcher starts beating the crap out of Huey, and beats him down, and um, Butcher then stops and gets flashbacks of Lenny, his brother, flashing back and forth between Lenny and Huey, off what I forgot what that lady was in season 2, where she said Huey's a spitting image of Lenny. But so they pay that off, and then Huey shoots Butcher, and then he goes down, and Huey immediately regrets it and goes to him saying, like, I'm gonna get you help, okay? And Butcher's like, don't bother. You had every right to do that. I wasn't gonna stop. I was gonna release the virus. So they get like one final moment together, and then, as expected, Butcher does die. It had to happen, unfortunately, because as much as we love Butcher's character because of his comedic moments, deep down he was almost as bad as Homelander, just the opposite way. Same way Homelander wanted to wipe out humans, Butcher wanted to wipe out Soups in a way. So I think Butcher's a slightly misunderstood character. Like, I do, feel bad for what he's gone through, with his younger brother, Lenny, losing him, and then, losing his wife, Rebecca, reuniting with her just to lose her again. So he is a very tragic character, and stuff, but unfortunately, this had to happen because he was just too far gone in darkness. But one of my favorite characters in the show, Karl Urban's a phenomenal actor. Played the character very, very well. Really, I made him iconic. Had the funniest lines in the show. So I'll miss Karl Urban's portrayal as Butcher. Did a great job. R.I.P. Butcher. He was a good character. I'm gonna miss his friendship with Huey. Yeah, so am I. Just very sad and emotional. And you can tell Huey really didn't want to do that, but he felt like he had no choice. So then they have a funeral for Butcher, where like Huey, says his like specs and stuff on, deep down there was good in him, and deep down he was a good man. And they all share a laugh about the memories and stuff. And we see buried next to Becca, which I do like. And it says on his tombstone, loving husband, because he loved Rebecca more than anything and anybody. And then it says oi, and it says like oi and cunt, which I thought was hilarious. But then we get the ending to the show, where Ryan goes with Mother's Milk. He remarries Monique, which I'm glad that they did that. They should have never split up in the first place. But he gets to be with her, and he gets to be with his daughter, Janine. And, we see Ryan there as his best man. So I like that. Ryan's with him. Then we see Kumiko go off to France and eat that dessert thing, that Frenchie was trying to make her, earlier in the season. And then the last thing, we see Huey get a call from Bob Singer, which we haven't seen since the season 4 finale, but he takes over as president and he's like, listen, I got an offer for you. I want you to be like my head of, I want you to like run this thing for me. I can't remember what it was. But he's like, I appreciate the offer, but no thanks. I actually got my own business now and stuff. But he's like, well, all right, if you change your mind, the offer still stands. But Huey hangs up and brings season 1 full circle where we first saw him. He gets his own audio store now, whatever that store was called in season 1 that he was working at. He has his own store. He has his own store. He runs it, and then Starlight's there, and she's pregnant with their baby, which they do name Robin after his, fiance that died in season 1. But basically, like, they're together, they get their happy ending, which I do like. And he has a thing for that, like, this radio that picks up on like police broadcasts or whatever. Like, oh, there's a crime going on here and stuff. So Starlight uses her powers to do good and be a true hero. And the final shot of the show is, Huey looking up at the sky and smiling, and that's pretty much the end of the show. So yeah, solid episode. I thought it was, a good finale. Could have been better though. It did feel a bit rushed at times. I just felt like defeating Homelander and killing Homelander felt like it just happened too quickly. I felt like it was just a bit too fast and stuff, a little too easy. Kind of like how Stranger Things, season 5, episode 8, The Right Side Up, how I just felt it was too easy when they take out the Mind Flayer and kill Vecna. I thought it was just way too easy. And I wish it just made it a little bit harder, a little bit more resistance. I mean, it, just really battle tested the main characters more. But I was kind of just satisfied with where everyone ended. I felt like the characters ended up in a good place. Huey and Starlight, Mother's Milk, Kumiko, so Ryan as well. So I felt like everybody ended in a good place. But episode rating, I said it needed to be at least a 9.5 out of 10. Unfortunately, I just can't get there. I am going to give it an 8.6 out of 10, maybe an 8.5, which is higher than what I gave The Right Side Up. I gave that a 7.9 out of 10. But, it could have been a little bit better. But it was not a good final season. I don't know what it is outside of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, with shows not having a good final season. The Boys season 5, Stranger Things season 5, Cobra Kai season 6. I know part 3 was good, but really episodes 1 through 8 were horrible or just mid. But yeah, I'd say like the last 7, I'd say episodes 9 through 15 of Cobra Kai are better than The Boys seasons 4 and 5, honestly. But yeah, I feel like The Boys season 4 and 5 should have been one whole season with 18 episodes. Yeah, that's another thing. This whole 8-episode formula, it's not working. Like, it really isn't. Light on so I can actually see. But yeah, I saw it going around earlier today. The whole like 8 episode formula just doesn't work. I mean, look at Breaking Bad. Like the last season was the longest season, 16 episodes. That was plenty. That was enough episodes for them to wrap everything up without rushing anything. Stranger Things only 8 episodes. Um, Stranger Things season 5 only had 8 episodes. That's why everything kind of felt rushed. They just had to like cram everything in there. Um, we're like, after volume 2, we're like, how they're gonna wrap everything up in 2 hours. Like Stranger Things should have had like 12 or 13 episodes. I think that would have been enough to wrap everything up without rushing it. Same with The Boys here, where only 8 episodes. Just a bunch of filler episodes. Like episodes like 3, 4, and 5 are straight up filler, and then barely anything happens in episode 7. So then episode 8, you only have an hour to wrap everything up, and you still leave things open ended, like what happens to Soldier Boy, because the last time we see him, he's locked up in the freeze container or whatever the frick it's called. And then like that's it. Like we don't know what happens to him. Does he get put away again? Do they release him in Canada? Like what do they do with him? And you know um the next time we see him will be in a prequel show that doesn't tell us like what happens to him after The Boys. Because the last time Homelander put him back in the freezer chamber, whatever the frick it's called, and like we just get no answers on that because Stan Edgar takes over Vought again. Like, what does he do with Soldier Boy? Is he gonna make him the face of Vought again, or is he gonna get rid of him? What is he gonna do? Um, or is he just gonna be locked away forever? But yeah, The Boys should have had like 12, 13 episodes. Like that would have been enough to just wrap everything up without just cramming everything in. That Starlight and Huey scene was a good parallel to the first episode with Robin and Huey. Yeah, I agree. It started with Huey and ended with Huey. Yeah, I agree. 8.6, 8.7, that's fair. That's why Breaking Bad had a good final season because it had 16 episodes. Exactly. And like the seasons before that, season 1 only had 7 episodes because it was a brand new thing and they weren't sure about the reception. But seasons 2, 3, and 4 all were 13 episode seasons, so nothing felt rushed. The story was always a fluid, well paced story. Netflix Daredevil had a good final season as well. It had 13 episodes. I believe all 3 seasons had 13 episodes. But yeah, I got to get on season 2 ASAP. Even though Cobra Kai season 6 was 15 episodes, somehow the final season was not that good. Well, that's because they had characters going backwards because they had a really good ending in mind. They had no idea how to get there. So they had to like create a bunch of drama, have characters regress, go backwards just to get to that ending. Like 15 episodes kind of overboard. I think 12 or 13 would have been enough. And season 6, they could have done so many things differently. So just wasted potential. Stranger Things season 5 should have been 15 episodes. I'd say 12 or 13. But I guess 15 wouldn't be bad. The Boys season 5 overall, a 7.7 out of 10 in the second weakest season. I'm debating on whether or not it's worse than season 4 or not. I'm not really sure. My season's ranking video is going to be really difficult to make because I'm like in between season 4 and season 5 being the worst. I already know what my top 2 are going to be. But the Boys season 3 is the best season with a mid finale, not going to lie. I think the finale is kind of underrated to an extent. Like I love Butcher, Soldier Boy, and Maeve pulling up the Vought and cornering Homelander. And I thought the fight at Vought Tower is very good, one of the best fights in the show. Where Soldier Boy is about to depower Homelander, but Butcher intervenes to protect Ryan because he promised Rebecca that he wouldn't let anything happen to him. So then Butcher versus Soldier Boy is a good fight. And we see Maeve actually holding her own against Homelander. Then we see the Boys team show up to help Butcher. And then, seeing Maeve be a true hero and sacrifice herself to save them and loses her powers, which she's fine with because she didn't want them anymore anyway. So I actually think they ended off Maeve's character in a really good place. I didn't like season 4 that much. Only good part was A-Train, Homelander, episode 4, and the ending. Yeah, Anthony Starr. Honestly argue that he carries season 5 as well. Like I said, Anthony Starr needs a Emmy for his run as Homelander. Just phenomenal acting across the show. Let's see what else. But yeah, the Vought Rising prequel will come out early next year. They did show a teaser of that when they were playing the finale in the theater, which they will release online at some point. But it's been leaked out there on social media. Someone said that Homelander should have snapped in the opening of season 5 when they leaked Flight 37. He was about to, but Sage stops him from doing that. But yeah, that's really all. It's really all that I have left to say about the finale. But as soon as I get my Spider-Man video out, I will put all my other videos that were in that poll on pause, and I will get out my season's ranking of The Boys now that the show is officially over. I also got to put out my Invincible seasons ranked as well, and I'm considering ranking all 40 episodes of The Boys, but we'll see. I wish you did, not gonna lie, because imagine the crazy stuff you would have done. Oh yeah, nothing holding him back. It would have been a freaking disaster. But should rank the finales. It's kind of tough. I'll think about that. That's a tough one. I feel like all the finales are good in their own way. I just don't know which one I would rank first. Season 2, I can agree with that. Such an emotional finale with Rebecca's death, just really tragic because Butcher literally just got her back. And we see the anger in Butcher's eyes, and he's about to take it out on Ryan, but Homelander shows up, and Maeve helps them, leave and stuff, and it sets up season 3 perfectly. But we'll get into the film news now. Okay, did freaking Film Buzz get taken down or something? What the frick? Does it gotta find a different page, I guess? All right, I guess we'll go on discussing film, I guess. Because Film Buzz is gone. Not seeing much. Let's see. 2, 1, 4, 3, and 5. Oh yeah, 5 is the worst. Okay. Season 4 finale is underrated. I agree. Season 5 kind of brings it down a little bit though. Season 3 and season 5 are interchangeable. Some Homelander fans are review bombing the finale. Well, that doesn't surprise me because he dies, so. Okay. Okay. I haven't heard much about Mandalorian and Grogu. His image of Batman looks pretty cool. Okay. Yeah, so we already knew this. Okay. New Spider-Man poster. These posters are looking really nice. Can't wait for this movie. Spider-Man Brand New Day. Excited for it. But yeah, I think Peter's arc's gonna be really good. I watched Far From Home the other day, and I watched No Way Home like a few weeks ago. Yeah, I don't get why people hate on No Way Home. I just don't get it. Nice Punisher art right there. Aaron Paul has been cast in Fallout season 3. I've only seen that show a little bit. I haven't seen much of it. And then Punisher, we already talked about that last week. Two out of 5 on Mortal Kombat 2. Jeez. What the hell? Yeah, I don't see much. It's a 6.7 on IMDb, even lower than Stranger Things 5 finale. Oh boy. Bro, that means it's lower than freaking Cobra Kai season 6, episode 8, Snakes on the Plane. That somehow is an 8 out of 10 on IMDb. Like, what the frick? But yeah, IMDb ratings are kind of invalid because you have Breaking Bad fans and Game of Thrones fans review bombing each other's episodes, and because of that bullshit, Breaking Bad episode 14, season 5, episode 14, All Is Ominous or whatever the frick it's called, no longer has a 10 out of 10 rating on IMDb, so it's kind of ridiculous. But have a good world, but good stream. Have a good night. Yeah, have a good night, man. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, next week I will do a character tier list for the boys. So that'll be fun. But now I can get into our sports stuff. So just let me get the ESPN thing pulled up. Let's go to Friday, May 15th. All right, so Game 6 in Cleveland. Cavs blew an opportunity to win the series at home, and they got absolutely destroyed at their home. Have to go back to Detroit for Game 7. Just very frustrating if you're rooting for the Cavs. 23 points from Harden, 15 and 11 from Jalen Duren. But Pistons absolutely mopped the floor with them. Outscored them 30-19 in the third, then 31-24 in the fourth. But Game 7 in Detroit, both these teams going through back-to-back 7-game series. And then the Spurs take care of business in Minnesota. They beat the Wolves in 6 games. They blow them out by, I believe that's 20 points. No, it's 30 points, I think. But yeah, Anthony Edwards was dabbing up the Spurs bench when there was like 8 minutes left in the game. But 32-11 from Castle, criminally underrated. Nasrid with only 18 points, but Wolves' season is over. Their Western Conference Finals streak has come to an end. So yeah, Minnesota is going to be making some pretty big changes. Got to get Ant a co-star. So we'll see if they make any big trades in the offseason. Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert are the ones most likely to go. And then in the second round gets wrapped up. Cavs blow out the Pistons at Game 7 on the road. They get 2 road wins in this series in Game 5 and Game 7. 21-12 from Mobley, 17 from Jenkins. Kidd did what he could. But not a good game from Cade. I think he only had 13 points. Yeah, Pistons really should have been more aggressive at the deadline. Should have gotten another, shooter next to Cade. But the Cavs are going to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time without LeBron James since 1992. Holy moly. But Game 1, Spurs Thunder did not disappoint. It was absolutely electric. I think it went into double overtime, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not really sure. But just a crazy game. It was tied in the first quarter. I believe Spurs were up at halftime, but it was back and forth game. Goes into overtime. Wemby, just an absolutely insane stat line. 41 points, 24 rebounds, 3 blocks. Caruso, 31. But Wemby's in his first playoff run is already in the Western Conference Finals. He's already made a conference finals before Joel Embiid. This game right here, I think, solidified himself as the best player in the league. I know it may sound like over-exaggerating, but I think Wemby truly has arrived. And it's only his 3rd season. He's not even in his prime yet, so that's really scary. but they give the Thunder their first loss in this playoffs, in this, this year's playoff, because they were 8-0 heading into this game. So I think the Spurs are a legitimate threat to knock off the Thunder and stop them from repeating as champions. But Wemby was absolutely phenomenal in this game. This is a fun game to watch. So yeah, I think it's going to be the best series that we'll see in these playoffs. But shifting over to the East, the Cavs had this game in the palm of their hand and they blew it. Once again, my goodness. And if you just look at overtime, Jesus. So both teams kind of started off slow, but the Cavs went on a run in the third. They were up 22 points in the fourth quarter. Somehow they blew this lead, and it goes into overtime. They lost all their momentum. Donovan Mitchell was playing out of his mind. Then he just went quiet in overtime. James Harden couldn't do anything. You only score 3 points in overtime. That is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Knicks are about to have the most cupcake Cinderella run I've ever seen. 38 points from Brunson after he was horrible in the first 3 quarters. Cavs failed to take advantage of that. Donovan Mitchell, 29 points, is really the only one trying. I still think the Cavs have a chance to win this series. I'm stand by my pick, Cavs in 6. But you gotta, head into Cleveland tied up 1-1. You can't head back to Cleveland down 0-2. That is a death sentence right there. And then we'll end it off with tonight's game, which I don't know if it's over yet, but it is over. The Thunder tie this series 122-113. 30 points from Shea, 21 points, 17 rebounds from Wemby. Not as crazy. It was a game, but they got the split that they wanted. They're heading back to San Antonio with home court advantage. So I think there's a slight possibility that the Spurs go up 3-1. But we shall see. But I am rooting for the Spurs in this series, and I'm rooting for them to win it all. But game 2, Knicks Cavs will be tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes. But before we round off, do want to talk about the NFL schedule to play off. Okay, not really sure why this isn't working. Clicked it a million times. Okay. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can find it on the Instagram page. Yeah, not gonna go through the full schedule. I'll just go through the prime time stuff. But yeah, week one, which makes no freaking sense. It's going to be a Super Bowl rematch. Seahawks, Patriots. Don't know why they're in week one. They're just throwing us straight to the fire. Great. We're going to pick up right where we left off, getting our asses beaten by 40. They should have saved this for the second half of the season, not make it the first fucking game. But whatever. So yeah, not happy about that at all. But look at the week one schedule. Seahawks host the Patriots. And then we have a game in Melbourne, Australia. The Rams versus the 49ers. That should be a good one. We got Panthers versus the Bears. Lions versus Saints. Colts versus Ravens. Steelers versus the Falcons. Chargers versus Cardinals. Vikings versus the Packers. Bengals versus the Buccaneers, Texans versus the Bills, Jaguars versus the Browns, Titans versus the Jets, Dolphins versus the Raiders, Eagles versus the Commanders, and Sunday night Giants versus the Cowboys. That's a classic right there. And then Chiefs, Broncos, Monday night. I'm not really sure why they made that Monday night. I don't know if Mahomes is going to play or not. So that's a huge concern. But look at the full Sunday night schedule. Week 1, Giants, Cowboys. Week 2, Chiefs, Colts, which is a weird one. I don't know why they're doing that. Broncos, Rams should be interesting. Week 4, Panthers, Lions. It's the first Panthers Sunday night game in Carolina since 2015, I think, or 2016. I don't remember. Week 5, Falcons, Ravens. Week 6, Packers, Cowboys, this time in Green Bay at Lambeau Field. Week 7, Seahawks, Chiefs in Seattle, I assume. Then we got Commanders, Eagles in week 8. Week 9, Bears, Buccaneers. Week 10, Bengals, Steelers. Week 11, 49ers, Vikings in Mexico City. Week 12, Chargers, Patriots. Patriots will be off a bye after an international game. I hate international games, but whatever. In LA, it's playoff rematch. Week 13, Steelers, Texans. Week 14, Packers, Bills. Week 15, Vikings, Lions. Week 16, Cowboys, Jaguars. I think that's Christmas or Thanksgiving. I don't remember. And 49ers, Eagles. That should be an interesting one. And then week 18 will still needs to be determined. Depends on playoff, stimulations or whatever the frick you want to call it. Which Aaron Rodgers is going to retire after this season. Finally. Let's see if I can find the Monday night and Thursday night football ones. What? Sorry, my cat's meowing. Let's see. Where the frick is it? Not finding it anywhere. Okay, hold on a second. All right, here's the Thursday night one. Week 2, Bills, Lions. Week 3, Packers, Falcons. Week 4, Browns, Steelers. Week 5, Cowboys, Bucks. Week 6, Broncos, Seahawks. Week 7, Bears, Patriots. Caleb Williams versus Drake May. Week 8, Packers, Panthers. I don't know why this is in the way. Jaguars, Ravens. Giants, Commanders. Texans, Colts in week 11. Steelers, Broncos in week 12. Week 13, Rams, Chiefs. That should be a good one. Week 14, Patriots, Vikings. So Patriots have two appearances here. Week 15, Chargers, 49ers. And then Christmas Eve, Eagles, Texans. The holiday games look really good. And then New Year's Eve, Bengals, Ravens. Could be who wins the division. And then obviously we'll do a wild card game. Just the Black Friday game is going to be Broncos, Steelers, apparently. All right. See if I can find the Monday night ones, and then all right, but here's the Monday night games, I think. Okay, but week 1, Broncos, Chiefs. Week 2, Rams, Giants. Week 3, Bears, Eagles. Week 4, Saints, Falcons. Week 5, Bills, Rams. Week 6, Niners, Commanders. Week 7, Eagles, Cowboys. Week 8, Seahawks, Bears. Week 9, Vikings, Bills. That's surprising. Week 10, Ravens, Chargers. Jesse Minter, revenge game. Week 11, Commanders, Bengals. This time it's in Washington. Bengals getting revenge. Week 12, Panthers, Bucks. Week 13, Seahawks, Cowboys. That should be a good one. Week 14, Jaguars, Steelers. Week 15, Chiefs, Patriots. Patriots are blowing them out, calling it right now. May versus Mahomes, the old dynasty versus the new dynasty. Week 16, Giants, Lions. And then week 17, Packers, Texans. And then these 2 weeks will have to wait to be determined. And then you have your international games over there. Yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next week.